Hey guys, and welcome to Sewing with Anna Stasia. This is going to be a series of sewing tutorials. This very first video is the bare basics of sewing with a sewing machine. So if you've never sewn with a sewing machine, this video is for you. If you have been sewing with a sewing machine and you kind of know what you're doing or you know how to operate it, then go ahead and skip this video because that's the basic rundown of this video, is your sewing machine. We're going to start at the top, work our way down to the bottom. I'm going to point out all the parts. I'm going to show you how to wind a bobbin, thread your machine, and get your bobbin set in your machine and ready for sewing. This is my specific machine. It is a Genome 8050. Most of the machines are set up very similar, so if you have a different machine from this, then you shouldn't have any problem figuring it out using this video. I wouldn't suggest running out and buying this sewing machine. It's a good sewing machine, but it's a fairly cheap one, so you know, it'll only last a couple of years. Anyway, right here is where your spool of thread is going to go on. This bit comes off, your thread goes on, and this goes on to keep it nice and tight. I will come back to that when I show you how to thread it. This is a little handle, nice for easy carrying portability. This is where you're going to thread once we get there. This is for putting the thread around in order to load a bobbin, which we will also get to later in the video. This is where the bobbin would go. Over here we have a little wheel. This controls the needle going up and down. Moving down to the front, here's your display screen if your machine has one. Not all machines have this. This is needle up, down. I have no idea what this does actually. I don't ever use it. These controls right here are so that you can change your stitch. Here is your speed. If you've never used a sewing machine before, I highly recommend you start on this slower speed and work your way up. There are some things I use on the high speed. Most of the time I have it somewhere around there, a little bit closer to the high, but not all the way there. Here is going to be the list of all of your stitches. I don't use even a fraction of these, but I will go over these in a later video on which ones do what. Okay, over here, this is your reverse button. I do not like tying my thread, so when I start a stitch, I start it, I hit my reverse button, I go backwards, and then I go back over it. This helps seal that thread so that you don't have to tie all of your threads. You can just cut them off. Some things you can't do this for, which we will get to in later videos. This is the start-stop button. This starts it going and stops it from going. Most new machines have this as well as a foot pedal. When I first started sewing, all that was available is foot pedal. So I am used to sewing with a foot pedal. I don't know if if one way is better than the other or if it's more of just a preference. I prefer sewing with a foot pedal. We are going to skip over to the side here. Over on the side, you have your on-off switch. I'm going to turn mine on because that will turn the light on so that you can kind of see what I'm doing. You've got your foot pedal. This is where it plugs in. And this cord down here, it also comes undone, is the power supply. Back over here. Now we have some light. Alright, in here you have your needle. I will show you how to change your needle in a later video. We have your threader. I can show you how to use that also in a later video. You have your foot. You do want to know what kind of foot you have. Mine is just a snap-on, so that is what my foot looks like. But there are, besides the snap-on foot, there are also short arm and long arm foot. So you need to know what kind for when you purchase additional feet. There is also, back here, this little doohickey, which just slides back up. This is for buttonholes. You've got this bit here. This is for cutting your thread. On my machine, I have a drop-down bobbin, so my bobbin gets dropped down into this little section here. You want to check your machine because not all machines are drop-down. I personally think the drop-down bobbins are easier than the side-loading ones. But like I said, everybody's got a preference. Also on the front is this big piece here will come off. It's got some storage space inside. And if you don't have a drop-down bobbin, your bobbin's going to be right here. They are terribly difficult to load, so if you've never used one before and that's the machine you have, you might want to scour YouTube and see if you can't find a video on how to load your bobbin, because it is kind of a pain in the butt. My very first sewing machine had one of those, and then when that one kicked the bucket, I decided to get a drop-down bobbin. Now if you also look on top of your sewing machine, there are little ruler bits that have measurements. This helps you with your seam allowance. If you've ever used a pattern, you will see that most of them are 5/8 seam allowance. That is where your fabric needs to go, the edge of your fabric needs to go to sew your pieces together. We'll get more into that in a later video when we actually start using patterns. Okay, so now that I have my machine on, let's go ahead and load the thread so that we can wind a bobbin. Alright, so this is where you're going to load your thread. Pardon any jerkiness, I'm having to do this one-handed. I couldn't get the camera set up on the tripod so that it would give me this angle that I want. So first you're going to remove this piece here, set that aside, and take your thread and you're going to go ahead and slide it in. Now the thread is going to have stickers on it across here and across here. You're going to need to puncture those, and that's how your thread goes. Then you're going to take your little piece here. This end I always stick out. I don't know if there's actually a way you're supposed to do it or not, but that's how I do it, and that's what you get. Now your bobbin, you're going to place that over here, just like that for right now. Bobbins come in plastic and in metal. I see zero difference in my sewing using one over the other, so I don't know if there's a difference or what that difference might be, but I haven't really noticed any difference. Back to the thread. Take the end of your thread and you're going to pull it a little bit. Over here it goes, there is a diagram on the machines, but sometimes it's a little difficult. It goes around this bit, it just wraps around, it kind of snaps in there so it's taut, and then it goes over onto this. You see this has multiple holes in the top. You're going to go from the inside and you're going to stick it into one of the holes, which is very difficult to do one-handed while holding a camera. There we go. Alright, see it? Okay. And pull it taut. Now you're going to push this against here. You want to keep hold of this. I have to let go right now to adjust my speed, but you do want to keep hold of this. Turn your speed all the way up. There's no need to be shy about that. Sorry about the jitter. And you're going to press your foot pedal. To press your foot pedal all the way. My foot pedal is going bad, which is why it's starting and stopping here. It should just go like that. A little ways in, you want to stop and go ahead and cut this string. Okay, so I've cut my string, and now we're just going to wind. Press your foot pedal down, have it going full blast, and you're going to wind this almost till it's full. You don't want to go all the way full, otherwise it's going to come off the bobbin and start spinning around the plastic bit that's inside there. Alright, so I'm not going to wind this all the way because it takes a little while. When you're done, you're going to pull that away, lift up, and go ahead and cut your string so that your bobbin is no longer connected to your thread. Alright, so now we've got our bobbin wound. Now we need to thread our sewing machine. So you're going to take this thread off of here. This is for winding a bobbin only. You do not want to keep it on there when you're sewing. You want to follow the guides on your machine. So up around here, down into this crevice, down below here, up through this crevice, up and around this metal bit that's sticking out, back down through this crevice, underneath. Underneath here there is a little metal clip, and your thread will clip in there. You see how it's kind of behind it now? There's a little metal clip here and you put it in there. And then you're going to thread your needle. I always just thread my needle. I don't use the needle threader that comes with it. I think it's actually harder to do. So just thread your needle like you would by hand. Now your bobbin. Okay, so now I'm all threaded. Now for the bobbin, you're going to go ahead and release the cover. Make sure that you've got a little thread hanging out of your bobbin. You're going to drop that down in, like so. inside here is a little teeny tiny arrow with 2 little notches on either end of it. Your thread goes in 1 notch, over, and into the other one, like so. Replace your cover. Okay, now in order to get your thread or your bobbin completely set, you're going to use the side piece that puts a needle up and down. You're going to pull it down and pull it back up. Then you're going to use scissors or something else, pull through here, and that will pull your bobbin thread. Oh, well, it should have, but I didn't catch it. Let's do this again. Okay, down, up, scissors, and it's right here, so I'm going to reach in and grab it, and so now it's threaded. You got a string on the bottom, string on the top. Let's show you how to use these thread clippers now. Up into it and pull, and you're clipped. Alright guys, that's it. Thanks for watching my video, and if you have any comments, questions, concerns, anything of the sort, put it in the comments down below. If you have any recommendations for future videos, also comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye!